Many times when you're studying history, the answers are given to you as though it's black and white, that we know exactly how something happened. I'm not going to tell you that. When it comes to the history of theater, no one really knows how it started. No one knows if it started in different ways, in different places, at different times. If perhaps it started as dance, and then was forgotten, and later on came back as song, and then was forgotten, and later came back as storytelling. We just don't know. The truth is, that's the way it is with all theater history. For instance, and we'll get to this later, but we have a very good idea what the theaters in Greece looked like during the Hellenistic period, and we have great examples of the plays 150 or 200 years before that. We can only make an educated guess on what the theaters looked like and how the plays were actually presented when those scripts were written. When it comes to the origins of theater, there are 5 theories, and I'm looking on page 34 in your theater appreciation textbook. The 5 theories are the storytelling theory, and that's the idea that perhaps as a way of passing down history, or more likely the way of passing down great events, for instance the story of a fantastic hunt or a fantastic harvest, or the story of a great victory over an enemy, those kinds of stories could have been passed down from generation to generation, and finally somebody started acting them out a little bit, and then at some time, at some point, it becomes theater. The next theory is the dance theory. The dance theory holds that much like storytelling, they were using some form of rhythmic movement, a kind of dance, to imitate the behavior of people and or events. They may have used animal skins as costumes, and somewhere along the line they started using sounds and words along with the dance, and through that, theater was born. The next theory is a reasonably new theory, but that's the judicial theory. The idea, and this is one of the reasons this theory seems plausible, is that all early theater in Greece was judged. And so the idea is that one side of a complaint would tell the story to a judge or panel of judges, and this judge or panel of judges would listen to both sides of the story, and the person who best told the story would win. The better someone dramatized their story, the more likelihood of their winning, and from that theater began. The next idea is the ritual theory. This theory is that in trying to make sense of their surroundings, of the seasons, of the cyclical nature of their lives, they started attributing certain rituals to certain seasons, to bring about harvest, to bring about a good hunt, to bring about victory at war, to bring about these kinds of things. They used a ritual, and over time this developed into a type of theater. And the last theory, which is perhaps my favorite, although not the one I think is most likely, is that one morning some ancient Greek woke up and said, "Oh my God, I have just got to have theater in my life." It's called the great man theory. And that theory really is that one day a person had a clear vision of a new form of art called theater. And so they started creating theater. Now, it is entirely possible that all of these theories are true, that different areas developed differently, that perhaps there were elements of storytelling, dance, judicial, and ritual, and that one day a great man woke up and realized that if he put all of these elements together, he would end up with an art form. Like I said, we really don't know, but you will be tested on these theories. If we go back to what is the start of all Western literature, it's all based on Homer. And I'm not talking about Simpson, I'm talking about Homer, an ancient Greek poet. Homer is attributed with writing the Iliad and the Odyssey, which were kind of a Bible to the Greeks. By Bible, I don't mean a book handed down by the gods, but that the Greeks thought every word in the Iliad and the Odyssey were true. They believed it to be fact. Homer was writing about a period of time surrounding the Trojan War, and he attributed a lot of the ups and downs of the Trojan War, a lot of the ups and downs of the royal families and the kings of the time, to the gods. They had a pantheon of gods, not a single god. And it's important to keep in mind, and you could refer to the timeline on the top of page 36, that we know for a fact that there was a Troy, and we know for a fact that the Greeks destroyed Troy approximately 1193 BC. And right after that war, Greece experienced a period of dark ages. Not the Dark Ages, those are still 2,000 years away, but a dark age. All of the various areas of Greece had come together to fight the Trojans, and it took a while to defeat them. And theoretically, it was all over the idea that a prince of Troy ran off with or stole Helen, who was the wife of a Greek king. So all the areas of Greece decided to go to war with Troy to get her back. Therefore, Helen is the face that launched 1,000 ships. Along the way, this army, this navy, this group encountered all kinds of difficulties. They made sacrifices of daughters. They made all kinds of difficult choices and sacrifices, and it was hardship after hardship, but eventually they won. But they had put so much effort, financial and resources, into the war effort that civilization kind of falls apart for several hundred years after the Trojan War. Homer, who wrote about the Trojan War hundreds of years after it ended, maybe as many as 500 years after it ended, had no first-hand accounts of what happened in the Trojan War. He was writing after or near the end of that period of Dark Ages that saw the decline of civilization. That's when there's very little trade, when there's very little education, very little art, when people are afraid of one another and there's no central government to protect them. We will discuss the Dark Ages, the one that happened after the fall of the Roman Empire, in a little bit. My whole point here is that Homer really didn't know what was going on in the Trojan War, but he was passing on what he could, and the people took it as gospel. Now, it should also be noted that Homer probably didn't actually write the Iliad and the Odyssey himself. It is more likely that his students wrote it, or even that perhaps there was no man named Homer, that there was a group of various poets who put it together, and somehow they've been attributed to a man named Homer. We really will never know unless someone invents a time machine. Okay, so all early plays, and plays are the beginning of literature in the Western world, all early plays are based on Homer's Iliad and the Odyssey. So they're all about the Trojan War and the royal families surrounding them, about the sacrifices, the deaths, the revenge. Lots of revenge. If you put all of the families and their strife and struggles with one another that is talked about in the Greek plays together, you'd have something that looks like a season of the Jerry Springer Show. And this is taken for gospel. A Jerry Springer-like collection of stories that were passed down and told in the form of dance or storytelling of some kind, but that finally, in 534 BC, things changed. A person named Thespis stepped forward from whatever the art form was, and for the first time, at least he's recorded as being the first, we have someone stepping forward and saying something like, "Listen to me, I am Agamemnon." Up to that point, we just had people talking about other people, and we believe it was choral, that everyone was saying all the lines in unison. Thespis was the first one to step forward and say that he was the other person. This is a monumental shift, and that is why to this day actors are known as thespians, because Thespis was the first actor. Thespis did this at a big festival called the Dionysus Festival. The Dionysus Festival was a yearly festival held in Athens, and it was recorded that in 534 BC Thespis was the first winner of the Athens Dionysus Festival. And unless we unearth some new evidence, which is possible but not likely, Thespis will therefore always be the first actor. Okay, I think I'm going to stop right here so I can get my head together for what I'm going to babble about next.